Hello, fellow Amiga users. I'm Bill.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are the Guru Meditation. Come with us today when we take a look at a few of the new features of Amiga Forever 7.
The Guru Meditation.
Alright guys, Amiga Forever 7. Now, reason for this episode is a couple weeks ago we had our Westchester Amiga user group meeting, and I gave a demo of Amiga Forever 7, and the guys were like, hey, this is pretty cool, there's some new features that we really like seeing, you guys should do a YouTube video about it. Now, if you guys are just tuning in and had never heard of Amiga Forever 7 before, there's been quite a few of them, and Amiga Forever is basically, to make a long story short, it's a pre-packaged Amiga emulator. So if you haven't used your Amiga in a long time, you're getting back into it, or you just want an easy way to get up and running really quick with Amiga emulation, you buy Amiga Forever, pop it in, and you're like emulating an Amiga 500 or 1200 in no time.
Right, that's the big thing about Amiga Forever. It's a pre-packaged system. You load it onto your machine. It has everything you need, the emulator, the Kickstart ROMs, the Workbench disks, all of that licensed, legal, ready to go. You don't have to look for it for yourself, and you're ready to just click and be running an Amiga system on your PC or your laptop. Speaking of buying Amiga Forever, I went down into Das Bunker to get ready for this, and
that's quite the collection.
And I had quite the collection of versions as I upgraded over the years, from version 2 here, which is in a great little package. Version 2 came with one CD and also came with a floppy diskette for the Amiga side, and this is for a program that comes along with Amiga Forever called Amiga Explorer. And Amiga Explorer allows you to connect your Amiga up to your PC over serial or network cable if your Amiga has a network card, and easily transfer files back and forth between the PC and the Amiga, because obviously if you have this emulator on your PC, you want to get some of your disks, get some of your programs from your Amiga onto there, be able to run them. And basically, in essence, what I wanted to do with this over the years is have my Amiga 4000 on a laptop with me, take it anywhere I go.
That's pretty cool. I never actually hooked it up that way, so that's pretty neat. So like today we're not going to show you all the features of Amiga Forever because it's really in-depth, and like we could do like multiple episodes about that. We're just going to give you like a general overview and then show you a couple of the new features, because it's already an awesome video about Amiga Forever 2016 that our friend Dan Wood did, and he does it, he does it perfectly. He goes into just enough detail, so we'll post a link to his video down in the description, and definitely check that out. We'll give you like a brief overview now and show you some of the new features. Alright, so you want to give Amiga Forever a go. Where do you get it? You can get it on Calianto's website, and you might be confused at first because you see there's 3 different versions. So, which version do you get? What are the differences?
Right, so there's a value edition. This is the basic Amiga emulator. It comes with the Kickstart 1.1 through 1.3. It allows you to run, in essence, an Amiga 1000 through 2000, and of course the 500, which was the most popular gaming system. So this is if you want just basic gameplay, you're nostalgic for some of those old games, want to play you some Lemmings.
Little Shadow of the Beast.
Right. Very inexpensive system, but very basic.
Then they got the Plus edition, which is the one that I highly recommend, either Plus or Premium, because Plus gives you everything from Kickstart 1.1 all the way up through the latest Amiga, the 4000, and it gives you PowerPC emulation as of Amiga Forever 2016. So you can basically emulate everything with the Plus edition.
Right. The Plus edition and Premium edition are basically exactly the same. The only difference is Premium comes as a boxed edition with DVDs that have the videos on them, History of Amiga, Deathbed Vigil, and all of that.
Alright, before we get started here, let's take a look at some of the new features of Amiga Forever 7. It's got this new custom playlist feature, which is cool. You can like make your own playlists. So if there's a couple of programs or games that you're always going to, you can just make it easier to get to. It's got the option to auto-start your PC directly into an Amiga, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, a lot of people like this because they want that feeling of turning the Amiga on, being right in Workbench, not going into Windows, double-clicking icons, making selections. you just write into that system, just like it's sitting on your desk.
Yeah, it's a much better experience. Now, if you do go into Windows, they have another neat new feature which allows you to run programs directly from Windows, so you don't have to boot up Amiga Forever and then boot up your game or your software. You can just like click on an Amiga disk file, an ADF file, and boom, it'll come up completely transparent. You won't even know that you're using Amiga Forever. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Basically, from the name of the disk, it figures out what the settings for the Amiga that would play that game are and sets them all itself. So you don't have to do anything but click the icon, grab your joystick, and play.
Now, Amiga Forever 7 also has enhanced upscaling to 4K. So we're coming to you in 4K today. So you can see like how beautiful it does, upscaling the old school 320 by 200 low Amiga resolutions to 4K, because lots of people are working in 4K now and higher resolutions, and it just does a beautiful job upscaling. So everything today is coming to you in 4K. And we'll also take a look at some of the older Amiga resolutions upscaled the old way, and you can see how the new Amiga Forever does just a great job. It looks sharper and crisper than it ever has before. It also has enhanced power PC emulation, which is really cool. That can be like a whole episode all about it, all to itself, so we're not really going to dig deep into there. Basically, there's a lot of like under the hood improvements. You can now run like a crazy amount of Zorro RAM, which gives you a much better experience when you're emulating Amiga OS 4.1. So yeah, it's pretty cool, but we haven't dug that deep into it ourselves, so we're just gonna save that for a future episode of The Guru.
Right. Of course, none of that is important for people who are just interested in the classics, the Workbench 3.0 and below, the old school games.
Speaking of old school, man, let's fire this thing up and let's get going.
Let's go.
Here's the main screen. Always comes up with a tip of the day. You can turn this on or off, but I like the tip of the day because I always learn something.
Right.
There's a lot to the Amiga Forever, and it's neat to learn a quick tip every time you turn it on.
Right, and besides that, you'll end up on this list of systems that are pre-configured. This is also where you could create your own systems that you're interested in running.
Pre-customized with accelerators, or if you have a hard drive file from one of your old Amigas, you can customize it and launch it right from this window. It's pretty awesome. You can see it's got everything all the way back to the Amiga 1000, up to the 4000 Amiga 4000 Power
And
PC,
beyond.
and beyond. We got a games folder, and there's lots of, most of these are public domain games, but it's cool that it comes with a bunch of games.
Right, and most of what's on this list is available if you buy the Plus and Premium editions. The Value Edition has a shorter list of games that it comes with.
Also comes with some demos from the demo scene. These are always fun to fire up. To me, they're like Amiga music videos. They're pretty awesome. It also has a gallery. There's some neat stuff in the gallery. I always like to check it out. For example, here's the Amiga cover story on Byte magazine. Really cool historical stuff. Speaking of historical stuff, they also have a bunch of videos.
Right, and videos is only with the Premium Edition. That's the one you get with the DVDs.
Yeah, you can see if you try and launch one of these, it's going to tell you to pop in the DVD, but it's got some really neat stuff, including like the launch of Amiga video at Lincoln Center in New York. Dan already did a great job explaining all this stuff, so let's get into the new features of Amiga Forever 7. You can see this is new right here. This is a My Folders folder, which means you can put your custom configurations in there. We'll take a look at that in a second. It also has the playlist features, which is really cool. It can show you what you're currently playing, which is nothing, because we haven't started anything yet. Recently added playlists. Again, this is just a fresh install, so nothing added yet. Recently played. These are the few things I recently played. You can see here's the Amiga 1000 cover we just looked at. So it keeps track of things that you recently fired up. Top plays are, you know, what you've clicked on the most, like the configurations that you've run the most. So that's pretty handy. And here's Autostart. Now, Autostart is really cool. This is where you can drop a configuration into this playlist, and when you reboot your PC, it will automatically boot straight into the Amiga, which is really amazing. So let's say you want your PC to like automatically boot into an Amiga 500. Amiga 500, my first Amiga, brings back a lot of nostalgia. It's one of the new features of Amiga Forever 7. So we go over to our systems. Here's Amiga 500. And you know, this is the normal way to launch it. You fire up Amiga Forever, go to Systems, double-click Amiga 500, and then your 500 starts to boot. Not so transparent. Like you really feel the emulation experience.
Right. Now this is like if you want, just turn your machine on and you want it to act just like an Amiga 500.
It would be cool, like if you had an extra laptop or an extra PC that you dedicated just to Amiga emulation, this would be like the perfect scenario for it. So let's check it out. So what we do here is really, really simple. We just take our Amiga 500 configuration, drag it down to Autostart, click on the Autostart playlist, boom, there it is, Amiga 500. It's that simple. We're going to close the Amiga forever, and you just restart your PC. So click here, and then you can either shut it down or restart it. It doesn't matter. It'll remember it. It's pretty amazing. Here we go. PC's booting up. So
Right.
It's not a totally transparent experience.
Right, you're obviously going to see your BIOS boot screen. You're going to see your Dell HP logo from the manufacturer. You're going to see your Windows logo, and eventually you are briefly going to see your Windows desktop.
And first, I do have this computer password protected. It's my everyday PC. So we are going to have to type a password to log into Windows. Now, if you had a dedicated PC, you would just disable this. You wouldn't assign a password. And that is a good-looking
recognize that
login
motherboard.
screen. Type in my password. Who's that guy? And we do see Windows for a brief second here. No big deal. Again, hands off or off the keyboard. I'm not touching anything.
And here it comes.
Wow. Voila. Automatically starts booting up that 500 that we dropped into the Autostart folder.
Chances are you're not going to use this for a normal standard floppy-based Amiga 500. What you're really going to use this for is more than likely that last Amiga that you used, you had the hard drive set up with all your applications and everything. In my case, it was a 4000. Once you get that transferred over to what the WinUAE emulator understands, you can have this boot your PC straight into your Amiga, and it's like having an Amiga in a modern system. And the beauty of it is, something you could never do with an Amiga, is you can put this on a laptop, take it with you when you travel.
That's awesome. I think that's one of the best uses of emulation, especially since we have real Amigas. Have a dedicated laptop just to emulation, and boom, you can take it anywhere you want. The cruise ship, cruising with your 4000.
Sounds like a plan. Because you're planning a guru cruise.
That sounds good to me. All right, great. So now my PC boots directly into an Amiga 500. But, you know, as much as I like my Amiga, I still need to use my PC.
Right, and you may want to use more than 512K of that RAM that you bought in that PC.
So let's put my PC back to the way it was. Now, right now, we are in emulation mode. You can see I'm moving the cursor around. So we want to escape Amiga Forever WinUAE emulation. We're going to do that by holding down the escape key.
Right, now you have to hold that down for a few seconds.
And there we go. Now it came out of full screen mode. It's operating in windowed mode, and you can see we now have control over our regular Windows pointer. So I'm just going to click on the X here to close the window. It's warning me this emulation will be terminated. Yeah, cool, no worries. We can terminate it for now. We're going to go back to our Autostart playlist. I'm going to right-click on the Amiga 500 title, and I'm just going to say remove from playlist. Done. Now next time I reboot my PC, we stay in Windows. No more Amiga 500. So now another neat new feature of Amiga Forever 7 is that you actually don't have to launch your programs from this Amiga Forever environment. You can run them directly from Windows Finder. So let's close Amiga Forever and go into my ADF collection. I've got a collection of ADF files. ADF are Amiga disk files. They're basically images of Amiga floppy disks. You can also run UHD load directly from the Finder. But let's find a couple of ADF files here. So we are going to go into my Amiga folder, and I've got a whole folder here of Amiga games. Now, I recently played King of Chicago on my Twitch stream, and those old Cinemaware games are tricky because you definitely want 2 floppy drives because they're nonlinear games and it's constantly accessing disk 1, disk 2.
Right,
So
a lot of us will remember those disk swaps.
there's a lot of disk swapping. So let's try loading up King of Chicago directly from Windows Finder. And that's one of the cool things. Like if it was just a single disk game, I could just click on that one disk, done. But let's say you want to load 2 disks at a time.
But keep in mind, this has always been a bit of a pain point because for each game you would have to go into UAE, select every aspect of that Amiga you want to run. You want it to be 500, you want the Kickstart 1.2, you want 512K RAM. This makes it so you just double click an ADF file and off you go to play that game.
It's pretty amazing. And then it makes it even cooler is that it automatically loads the floppies into the correct drives. So we click on King of Chicago Disk 1, hold down Shift, click on Disk 2, and now watch this. I'm going to right click on it, and you can play it or convert it to an RP9 file. Now, what is an RP9 file? It's a file that Amiga Forever uses like underneath. It stands for Retro Platform File, and it's essentially like a zip file. So it takes everything you need for King of Chicago or for whatever game you're playing, compacts it into one file. So it'll have ADF1, ADF2, and the configuration file all in one file. It makes it super, super easy to deal with. So for now, we're just going to click play. And look at this. We got to go full screen on this. And voila, here we have some King of Chicago. nothing like a Cinemaware game in Chi-Town, good music. This is a classic. Well, that was pretty seamless. Now, it doesn't always happen that seamlessly. So, for example, we've got Lemmings here. We'll do the same technique. Click on Disk 1, highlight Disk 2 as well, right-click, go to play. Now, as you see, it doesn't quite recognize Lemmings. It's not sure what it is, just with the version of Lemmings I have. So it's trying to figure it out. So we can click on this configuration that it thinks it is and hit select.
Right. This shows you a little bit about like what's going on underneath the hood. It's selected an Amiga 500 with Kickstart 1.2 ROMs, a 68,000 CPU, and 512K of RAM.
So it's trying to figure it out, and it looks like it nailed it. Let's just make sure that inserts both disks. Look at that, it didn't. It only put Lemmings disk 1 and DF0. So we're going to click add to add a disk. Now we're going to add a floppy disk image file. So we're going to insert disk 2 in a DF1. Now this is like a little bit of a pain, but it's okay. You only have to do it once because it saves the RP9 file. So hit OK, and now you can see we have Lemmings disk 1 and DF0, Lemmings disk 2 and DF1, and we're good to go. It's going to save this configuration, so we only need to do this once. Start it up. Make sure we go full screen. Gotta see Lemmings in full 4K. and it boots up Lemmings.
Nice.
All right, and once again, we'll hit escape to get out of this. And now you can see that it made a Lemmings RP9 file. So next time we want to run Lemmings, we don't have to go through that configuration again. We can just double click this RP9 file, and then up comes Lemmings. It goes right into it.
Couldn't be easier.
Yeah, that is a sweet, sweet new feature. All right, so you've been going through all your ADF files. You're making RP9 files out of them, and you're cooking here, and you want to make a favorites folder, right? Another new feature of Amiga Forever 7. Let's check it out. You have something here called My Folders, and this is pretty cool. This folder provides shortcuts to your own RP9 content, drag and drop, or right-click to add folders. So let's go over to Windows Explorer. You can see here, I've made a little folder called Bill's Favorite Amiga 500 Games. Now, I've just started doing this, so it's not filled with games yet, but I've got a couple of my favorites in here. You can see over here, I've got Arkanoid, Lemmings, and Marble Madness.
3 good choices.
Solid choices. So I'm just going to drag my folder over here into Amiga Forever. Boom. Look at that. Voila. It automatically put the folders right here in the My Folders folder. A lot of folders happening. It automatically put the RP9 files right here as games. And yeah, it's awesome. It's a great way to customize your Amiga Forever and keep track of your favorite stuff.
Well, have easy access to your favorites as well.
True. All right, another neat new feature of Amiga Forever 7 is enhanced 4K upscaling for like high-resolution DPI screens.
Right. And now this is called upscaling because you're not going to be viewing your Amiga Workbench in 4K resolution.
No, it's upscaling the Amiga Workbench. Like I work in a 4K environment in Windows. I'm really lucky to have such a beautiful monitor. But sometimes when you have a small resolution image and you like increase the size and magnify it, it starts to fall apart even on a 4K screen. So what Amiga Forever 7 does is it enhances that. It makes it look sharp when it increases the size to 4K. So here we have like a standard Amiga 3.1 Workbench screen. You can see that the text is really, really sharp. Now, you guys are seeing this on YouTube, so it's gone through a lot of compression. I export this as an MP4 file, and it's going to look good in 4K on YouTube, but it's not going to look good as we're seeing because we're seeing it like directly from the software. It hasn't been processed through low bitrate MP4 file, but hopefully you'll get the idea. So let's just take a quick peek around Workbench in 4K, and then we'll load up standard emulator like the way it used to be, and we'll upscale some like 640 by 400 through Windows, and we'll see how that looks. We can just open up a shell, and it looks great. I mean, It's very easy on the eyes. It looks super clean, super crisp, a little blocky, but obviously the resolution of those old Amiga fonts is low, so it's going to be a little bit of blockiness.
Right.
So yeah, it looks awesome. Let's do the same exact thing, but let's fire it up in the traditional 640 by 400 mode without the new upscaling. And you can immediately see that there is not as much sharpness in the text. I can see some fuzziness around the edges.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's open it up. Go back to our shell. I mean, you can see it's just, especially on the edges of the text, between the text and the gray, you can see it's just a much, much softer image. And you know what? It's not doing a bad job. I can totally live with this, but it doesn't have like the sharpness of the new Amiga Forever upscale.
Well, the thing here is much like using and multitasking on an Amiga in high-res 640 by 400 resolution. You always think what you have is really good until you see it better.
Right. Exactly.
You know, when you go from the Amiga 640 by 400 to multitasking on Windows at 1024 by 768, now you feel constrained. This is a similar way. Once you see this crisp in that true 4K upscale, this is always going to look foggy to you.
It's like putting on a pair of glasses and then taking them off. It's pretty incredible. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed that little tour of some of the key new features in Amiga Forever 7. They've done a lot of stuff under the hood as well, but these are some of the obvious enhancements. They've also done a lot of PowerPC support, but that's more for people who want to run like Amiga OS 4.1 in a PowerPC environment, and there's so much to that. That's a video all by itself.
Right. As you can see, I mean, they keep improving this product, but really what we focused on here is you want to play those old games you used to play on your 500, your 1200, or you want to recreate that system that you had back when you were using the Amiga on a day-to-day basis.
This makes that whole process a lot more seamless. Now, speaking of the old stuff, we've been doing a lot of digging lately. You've been digging in Das Bunker, I've been digging in the garage, and man, we've pulled out some real relics. And we can't wait to show them to you guys. So if you want to see more videos from us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get notifications when we post a new video.
And we will see you on the next episode of the Guru Meditation.